Hey friend, welcome to a new day. This is Zen, and thank you for joining me on our journey coming back from fear. Today is episode 15, and our focus in this episode will be on the fear of the unknown. There once was this criminal who had committed a crime. He was sent to the king for his punishment. The king told him he had a choice of two punishments. He could be hung by a rope or take what's behind the big, dark, scary iron door. The criminal quickly decided on the rope. As the noose was being slipped around his neck, he turned to the king and asked, "By the way, out of curiosity, what's behind the door?" The king laughed and said, "It's funny. I offer everyone the same choice, and nearly everyone picks the rope." "So," said the criminal, "tell me, what's behind the door?" Obviously, I won't tell anyone," he said, pointing to the noose around his neck. The king paused, then answered, "Freedom. But it seems most people are so afraid of the unknown that they immediately take the rope." Wow, that kind of hits right between the eyes for me. We can choose to stay in our current circumstances because we feel safe, even if we feel we are being suffocated or it's slowly killing us. I'm sure most of us have heard the phrase, "Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know." We are conditioned to stay safe. I feel that one of our most exciting challenges in our life is rooted in the fear of the unknown. We are drawn into the future, not knowing how something will turn out or what someone will think of us. And it seems that our struggle comes because we get attached to an outcome. We get determined that something is supposed to happen, and when we aren't sure of what is going to happen, we become unsettled. We become scared. In our long list of conditional love laws, we develop our requirements to be lovable and acceptable. These are all those roles we base on things going on outside of ourselves. Those conditions. What is happening out there? What are people thinking about us? What decisions are being made about us? Will they still be my friend? Will they hurt me? Will they take away my house, my car, my possessions? Possibly it all comes down to the question, will they take away my self-worth? And let me repeat that. Could it be that the core of our fear of the unknown is that we fear that others will take away our self-worth? And that is an interesting question. If it is self-worth, can they really take it away from me? Can I really even give that away? It is my self-worth. So if I give it away, it would be their worth of me. So I am the only one that can ever own my own self-worth. What is truly the issue is that I am seeking to know what someone else values me at. That is the worth they put on me. Our fear ego is always concerned about our current market value. What does everyone think of us? Because in order to experience fear, we have to be doubting our own worth. And let me repeat that as well. In order to experience fear, we have to be doubting our own worth. When we remember the powerful supernatural being that we are, we no longer feel fear because we are secure in our worth. We become fully aware of how priceless we are, and we no longer seek to put a value on ourselves or others because we realize we are perfect, and there is no measuring system that can comprehend our vastness. Our anxiety comes when we believe the thoughts in our head that others define us, or situations outside of ourselves define us. We feel out of control. So much in our lives is impacted by decisions others make. Governments, customers on the other side of the phone, bosses at work, people driving beside us on the freeway, individuals passing us on the street, owners of banks and credit card companies and cell phone companies and utility companies, husbands, wives, and family and friends. Gosh, our outward situation and circumstances are consistently changing because people are consistently changing. Our possible futures are in constant flux because all the ingredients going into our lives are constantly being altered. How exciting! So when we are trying to control our lives, wow, what an endeavor. When we are trying to control the lives of others and the world, holy moly, impossible. But yet we try. We're taught to try. Byron Katie puts it well when she states that there are 3 types of business: my business, your business, and God's business. When I am outside of my business, that is when I experience sorrow and anxiety and so many of the uncomfortable emotions, because all that out there is out of my control. All I can control is my attitude and belief about myself, you, and the world. And in grasping that, I can change the world around me as I change my belief about it all. Because we do not see the world as it really is, we really only see the world as we are. If I'm in fear, the world is a place of fear. If I'm in love, the world seems like a place full of love. If I am angry, the world seems like an angry place. We control our perception of the world right in here. The unknown happens out there. Other people's decisions and situations that will happen out in the world. Those are unknown because we have no control over them. We don't know what will happen, and we never will. We might be in a position where we might be able to influence thoughts of fear or thoughts of love, but people's choices will always be their own. And there are things like, earthquakes and tsunamis and tornadoes and asteroids and planetary stuff that we have no control over. Yet, anyway. The only thing that can be known to ourselves is how we are going to choose to feel about what is going on in our lives. And even then, sometimes we may not feel like even we are able to know how we will react to a situation when it comes across our path, because we aren't sure how we would react. And we're also taught that our emotions are out of our control. That when something happens, all we can do is react based on how we have been conditioned. And that is okay to believe that. We did come here to experience what it might feel like to be a victim, to be totally out of control. Because we can't feel that back home. Back home, we are powerful, supernatural beings of unconditional love, full of love all the time. So we come here to feel that out of control feeling. It's an adventure for us to come here and be able to face those emotions. As we awaken here, we start to understand. We start to remember that we have our power of choice. We can adapt our emotional out of control reaction to a balanced, peaceful, peace-filled response instead. We can begin to control our emotions by learning to pause the reactive response, even by a second, to be able to question what we are fearing. We can retrain our mind to respond to the situation in a new way, instead of the old fight or flight mode way. Our mind will try to take off running, but because we learn to put a leash on the emotions, they only go so far before we rein them back in and keep them from running away or biting someone. We tend to take ourselves so seriously when we are in fear mode. Controlling the entire universe can make us very serious. It takes a lot of concentration to try to make sure everyone else is doing what they are supposed to, and also make sure we are meeting everything on our conditional love list. And even more energy to see all the things that are going wrong, keeping tabs of those. We can learn to let go of all the control. All that energy that is used to try to control the world outside of us comes flooding back in when we focus again back on our own business, the things that are within our control. Becoming aware of our reactions is the start. We will realize what happened after the fact and reflect. Then we'll eventually move to where we realize it as it is happening and still react. Then we evolve in that situation to where we realize it and take a detour. Eventually, when the emotions are rising up, we de-escalate the emotion and calm ourselves, choosing to respond. It's a process, and we can be patient with ourselves as we learn and grow through it all. And let me give you a quick example. So, like after watching a love story, being single, I would get depressed and start looking for a mate because watching someone being in love made me think that I needed that in order to be happy too. So my reaction was to feel lonely. I would realize this after the fact, after I got to the point where I was depressed and desperately seeking someone, looking for a quick fix of finding love outside of myself and getting so frustrated. It would take me a while to get to that point in the beginning, and I would eventually turn back inward for my search after being disappointed so deeply by the external. So after repeating that process for years, my awareness of the pattern began to come less and less time after the drama had ended, to where eventually I was realizing it just after it had happened. Aha! It wasn't long after that where I began realizing it as it was happening. Now, I'll confess that even when I recognized it was happening, I was still letting it all happen because I wasn't ready to have it stop happening at that point. And there was nothing wrong with that. We come here to experience. And oh boy, was I experiencing all the uncomfortable emotions of worthlessness. Just so delicious. Now. Eventually, I grew bored of feeling that way, and as I reflected on love, true love, and began finding it within myself, then I began to stop in the middle of my searching, taking that detour, and became fulfilled within my own self-love. Of course, until I saw the next movie or seen someone else who was in love. It took me a few more years to get to a place where, when as the feelings arose to search outside of myself for love, it would act as a flag to take some deep breaths and come back to unconditional love for myself that was right here inside me. The desperate search for love usually ended there for me. Now, I must also confess that depending on where I am in my life and what is going on with me, I still can get blindsided by the reactive emotions, and I'm jarred into looking outside of myself for love. It's always a great reminder about the contrast between conditional love and unconditional love. The return to amazing bliss that comes from the unconditional love inside me is much quicker than it has ever been in the past. And again, there is nothing wrong with feeling those feelings and going through those experiences. It's why we came here. There is no failure. So all of this, it's a process of changing a habit. It isn't usually accomplished overnight, though with some situations it can be. Don't put yourself in a box. If we believe the thought that it will take forever to learn to change a habit, then it will, because we empower it that way. How do we know when we're ready to change? Because we are changing. If we aren't changing, then it evidently isn't time yet. Otherwise, it would be happening. It can take as long as it will take. Let it unfold. We can embrace this moment. Feel confident that the universe, the Creator, all spiritual beings on the other side are friendly and have our highest experience in mind here. They are not punishing us. We are not being tempted. We are experiencing the opposites of unconditional love. Conditional love and fear. And when we are ready, we wake up to unconditional love again and are able to contrast them next to each other and see the depth and width and breadth and height of each. The more uncomfortable emotions we experience here, the more detailed understanding we have of ourselves. Deep breaths. Feel the expansiveness of the powerful supernatural being that lives within you. That is you. The external being is just a made-up character in a game. An educational, exciting game. Next episode, we'll focus on the fear of losing, our drive to win an argument, to win the love of another, or to win a game. Until then, think about becoming a lover of the unknown. When you are faced with the fear of not knowing what will happen, take a deep breath and try to let the desire to know go. Release that outcome into the hands of the Creator, trusting that everything will always unfold for your highest good, your highest experience. Every moment is of unconditional love or the fear of losing conditional love. Remember who you are.